I am here for you. Our experts are here for you. So let's get to it, shall we? These two acronyms, right, that I'm about to mention have changed the way we do transactions in Nigeria and globally. These acronyms are POS and USSD. But there's so much more you probably don't know about POS and USSD. They're revolutionary, yes, but they can actually change the way you do business and transactions much more than you can ever imagine. And that's why I have these amazing guests with me on the show today. So let's speak to the experts, right? I'll be asking the questions. They'll be giving us the right answers we need. All right. So we're live across various platforms. As I said, I have two of the gentlemen joining us right here in the Lagos studio. Olatundu Olukoya is a product manager, web acquiring at EcoBank. If you're joining us via Zoom, he's a man in the suit and tie, the Grayson. Good afternoon, Olatundu, and happy Easter to you.
Good afternoon, Kayode. Happy Easter.
Absolutely. Ademisola Adeyeye is right next to him, is the group head, ATM services. In fact, Ademisola will be joining us soon. Okay, not to worry. Olumayowa Mole is right next to him, is a team lead payment and collections, Premium Trust Bank. Is of course right here in the studio as well. Olumayowa, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I must say, I love the look. This is a laid back look that you want to have on Easter Monday. But that's not all. We have three gentlemen joining us virtually as well. So I'm going to be walking you through who they are, what they do, and then we'll get the conversation started. Kennedy Ikezie is the MD CEO, Kipper, which is a Sanef partner and a super agent. Kennedy, thank you for joining us virtually, as well as Eidiame Okoje, who's the head ATM and virtual business commercial digital banking group at Polaris Bank, as well as Oscar Moma, the head products and partnerships, Globus Bank. Gentlemen, thank you, and thank you for joining us. Without much ado, let's get right into it. This is something I'm particularly excited about, not minding the fact that I'm surrounded by bankers, people that know so much about the fintech and the financial industry in general. So I'll just start with you, Olatundu. I don't want to take it for granted that everybody listening to us understands what we're about to talk about, okay? So can you just, in the simplest term, explain to us what exactly is a cashless policy all about?
Okay, thank you, Kayode, and good evening, our viewers once again. Far back in 2012, the Central Bank of Nigeria, that's the CBN, looked towards achieving one way of achieving the Vision 2020 for the Nigerian economy. And one way was to reduce the cash usage that we currently have as in a country, Nigeria. And then the goal was not to eliminate cash usage, but to reduce cash usage. And that's how the cashless policy all came about to be. So it is an initiative of the Central Bank of Nigeria to ensure that cash usage is being reduced, but not totally eliminated, via the use of alternative means of payments for goods and services.
I know this is a policy that has been on for almost 10 years now. I mean, gradually it has started, bit by bit. And let me just go to Lumayowa. I like the background you lay a lot to do. And I want you to add your voice to it. So this policy has been on, some hiccups here and there, bumps, but why is it that Nigerians are still very much attached to cash? I mean, we love cash, don't we?
Well, thank you, Kayode. Nigeria is an interesting country. And as much as the government is trying to bring on policies that will help better the economy, of course, it's one way or the other, we still find situations whereby we get people not really buying some policies of the government. But it is what it is. But from where I see it as a banker, I think it's an element of trust, because you still find that people still find it difficult to believe in the system, right? Find out people, if you go to a typical Nigerian market and then you tell them, I'm going to do a transfer to you, and then you still find that element of trust still missing in our system. I think the first thing we need to deal with as a nation is trust. Once we're able to deal with that issue of trust, and I think would go a long way in changing the perception around the cashless policy, because I've read a lot of stories like in a particular country, for instance, where I don't want to go religious right now, where people want to buy, and even if people are not in that store, people leave what they are doing, they do their prayers and they want to buy instantly whatever the cost is, they leave at the table.
Yeah.
And then it's mixed, whatever they drop on the table is the actual cost. So it's about trust. Now, the government has developed platforms where people can transfer alternative channels that you can adopt, but still, people still have a little bit of trust. So they believe in what they see. Typical Nigerian.
Because I imagine for them, they're wondering, if I can't see the cash, maybe it doesn't exist after all. But if there's anything, a lot of us can testify to the fact that, yes, you might not see the cash, but it is there. So when you do your transactions, even though you do not see the hard currency or whatever they call it, it is still there. So I'm glad you bring in that angle. But maybe to drive the point home the more, let me go to Kennedy. I know that most people would ask, what is in it for me? I think that's a good way to get people to buy in, because I naturally want to say, what's in it for me? If I go cashless, what do I benefit from it? So, Kennedy, is there a benefit individually now for jumping on the cashless economy, the cashless options? Do I benefit from it first as a person, as a business? And of course, we can extend this to Nigeria at large. But first, personally, what are the benefits of going cashless?
Yes, thanks a lot for the question. I think one critical element that has been missing from the broader conversation about going cashless is selling to the average person, why is this something that is important for you, given all the benefits of cash, right? Cash is instant, cash is readily accessible, and it's very wide in distribution. But if we take a purely economic point of view, and we look at other emerging markets that have similar demographic trends as Nigeria does, what we realize is demonetization policies in countries like India, Indonesia, and Southeast Asia catalyzed significantly economic growth, because what that did is, as technology became available and citizens started to move cashless, a bunch of things. One, security around financial transactions. Right. And until there's security, trust, and instant financial transactions happening across the entire country, the whole topic of financial inclusion is not one that we readily can achieve. So for us, the way we think about it, for Nigeria to catch up with the rest of the world and truly shed its emerging economy status, we need to start to accelerate the adoption of digital financial practices, which are more secure, which, as we all know, prevent things like, theft, embezzlement of funds, and just that way there's broader, there's broader accountability for finances. As we saw in November, and this is the final thing I'm going to say, right? According to the central bank, before the currencies were changed, about over 80% of the cash in circulation in the economy was outside of formal banking systems. If 80% of cash is outside of formal banking systems, then there's very limited cash for people to access credit, and it is impossible for most people to be financially included. So the point is, it is a prerequisite for broader financial inclusion for the country to go digital.
Brilliant point there. Let me bring in Oscar on this one as well, because I think it's a major talking point. Again, people need to know what's in it for them personally and for our nation, Nigeria. Yes, we're an emerging economy. We're hoping to maybe leapfrogging. So what are your thoughts on how this benefits us individually and as a nation, Nigeria?
All right, thank you very much, Kayode. Good evening, everyone. As for Nigeria, I believe it actually helps in a big deal regards to reduce the cost of printing, minting, also distributing cash across the nooks and crannies of Nigeria, basically, because it actually costs huge amount of funds to actually print naira, for instance, for the economy. It benefits the economy, basically, yeah. And also, with regards to financial inclusion, also, if people actually go into using digital payments as a platform to make payments, monetary policies that occur in the country can actually have much more effect. Basically, it also causes inflation compared to using cash. The more amount of cash money circulation actually results in high rise of inflation. Currently, right now, inflation stands about over 21%, about 22% there, about 21.9 3% thereabouts as a few weeks ago. So it keeps going higher and higher, owing to the fact that there's more money in circulation, mainly cash. But however, it is passes through the financial system with policies and both monetary and fiscal policies that are being implemented. That can actually be regulated, basically. And the truth is that most developed countries like China, US, Europe, and other countries, basically, you actually find out that most countries that actually use and adopt digital payments services, they find it easy to actually develop their country compared to using cash. So embedding cash in the system is really not encouraging. Yes, it's with CBN trying to actually reduce that now, but it's much more beneficial to the economy to actually use much digital payment services like USSD and POS. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me go to Hijaman now and just push this further a bit. Okay, I need us to make this point as much as we can every chance we get. Can you maybe paint a picture for our listener what Nigeria would look like, or Nigerian economy would look like, if we're able to successfully implement this cashless policy? Let's say 90%, perhaps 100%, if I'm not asking for too much.
All right, thank you, Coyote. Just to also, leverage on everything Kennedy mentioned in terms of giving numbers. Even though since 2012, the CBN has tried to drive this cashless policy, it's unfortunate that that same cashless policy has been, implemented alongside with the cash we have in our economy. About 83.3% of cash, right, remained in circulation even until they started with the redesign issue. For us to be able to survive this cashless policy, to make it a foundational thing in the country, such that even the market woman in Mile 12 market can receive payments without that cash, it is important that not only should we drive this cashless policy through programs like this, education of every single person who we want included in the financial sector of the economy is also important, right? If you want someone who lives as far away as the bushes of Kaduna, right, to be able to have access to our financial services, it's important that we also constantly educate these people. Now, over and beyond all of this, for the cashless policy to be able to give us the value that we truly need in this country, we also need to carry other stakeholders along, stakeholders such as the technology of our banks. Our infrastructure have to be on 100% ready to receive the volume of transactions that will be flowing. I mean, typical example, during this cash redesign policy, we saw cases and issues where, transactions were either being dropped or most of them not being successful. Now, for us to be truly successful with our cashless policy, it is important that all the major stakeholders sit down, dimension what is required to make it a seamless and painless journey for all the customers and users in the country.
Well, thank you very much, EDM. The good thing is we're doing all of the education I just invented a new word. We're doing it right here on this show. So let's get right into it. Last week, we focused on ATMs and the internet banking, and it was a very interesting conversation. We got calls and questions up until the end and even afterwards. By the way, you can be a part of the show by calling in or sending us a message on 0810-608-1681. I'll be opening the phone lines pretty soon, so get ready. Or 0818-202-5883. If you do not want to call, you can send in a message ahead. We'll get answers to those questions. So, gentlemen, let's get right into it. So, ATM, internet banking, done. We touched on POS for a little bit last week, but let's take a deep dive, all right? Because POS has become really popular now. But I want to start from the basics. I do not want to assume. Olatunde, what does POS mean, really? Some people say it means possibility. Short. What does it mean, please? Let's start from there.
All right. POS for short is a point of sale. And I think the definition would have been coined from the fact that when you go to a supermarket or a store, it's at the point of making a purchase or a sale that you get to use the device.
and that's why it's called point of sale. So POS for short is point of sale. Just to quickly also add some things that during this cash redesign policy, like the last speaker said, huge volumes of transactions occurred. For instance, if you compare Q1 2022 to Q1 2023, in Q1 2022, about 282 million transactions were processed for 1.9 trillion value. In Q1 2023, about 388 million was processed for 2.8 trillion value, showing a growth quarter of 2022-2023 of 38% volume, 52% value. Now, if you check Q4 2022 against Q1 2023, about 271 million transactions were processed for Q4 2022, whereas for Q1 2023, about 388 million was processed. And we had about 22% growth quarter on quarter for 2.3 trillion to 2.8 trillion. That shows a massive growth on the point of sale as an alternative means of payments for this cashless policy.
Wow. You know, when you get the figures, it tells you just how much people are jumping on this. So a lot of Nigerians are getting on board this.
Yes. And then to shock you, for NIP, which is a names instant payment, which the local man calls transfer, between in December 2022, about 561 million was processed in volume. But in March 2023, does this metric finished, 1.2 billion was processed in transfers. That's a massive growth. And if you compare February to March 2023, we have about 52% growth in volume and 30% growth in value. March 2023, 48 trillion naira was processed via instant transfer. Transfer here, transfer there. Nigerians transferred 48 trillion naira within last month.
Nigerians, we see you. So all those money no day. This is where the money has been. Beautiful. Thank you for giving us those figures. And, you know, I was just going to follow up with what can be done then with POS, because clearly there's lots of activities going on that little machine now. So aside making payments, what else can you do with a POS device? And let me come to you. What else can you do with that POS device? Clearly, Nigerians are doing a lot with it from the figures.
Yeah. So in Nigeria, what we understand by POS is more like a small device that you see everywhere. I mean, just like Steve said, it's beyond that. When POS, it was more of a retail machine that when you're walking out of the store, you get your total sales and then you pay, right? But in Nigeria, so let's bring it home so that you just understand. There's that small machine that you have, you just go there and then, and of course, based on the fact that there are agents spread over Nigeria right now, the major tool that they use to process transactions is that small device. That small device has a PIN pad, you have to push your card, then you press something and then it's either tells you successful or not successful. So but beyond the normal cash in, cash out, which is of course you are paying it, you are withdrawing it.
Yeah.
People can still open accounts. Banks have that same device. You get there, you say, I can open an account in the bank, just give them your basic details and accounts be open. So it goes beyond normal transaction based transaction.
So I don't have to walk into a bank to open a bank account.
Yeah.
I can walk to a POS operator or an agent and open a bank account.
Very correct. Very correct.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So it goes beyond, banking has gone beyond the brick and mortar banking. You just walk up to an agent and tell them, okay, I want to open an account. Just go there, open an account. On your mobile applications, you open an account. So beyond, as I said, beyond normal purchase transactions, cash in, cash out. Of course, you also do bills payments, and of course, for some value added services, you want to pay your bills, you want to pay your PSCM bills, you want to do airtime top up, and in some cases where governments, for instance, they maybe want to pay the fine or a levy. Yeah, you still do that at those PSC. Okay. So you do a lot beyond cash in, cash out that we are used to.
That's a powerful device. Goodness. So if you're listening to this right now and you've always looked down on that POS, hey, that POS is a super device right there. Well, let me go to Kennedy and just expand this even more. So I personally, I do not have a business. So when I come across POS devices, or when I go to the supermarkets, when I want to make payments. But Kennedy, what kind of businesses can adopt the POS device now for the services they want to offer, receiving payment and all of that. Again, we're going to the business side of things. Okay, we'll be undulating the business and the personal finance. So what kind of businesses? And I mean, the market seller or the corn seller or the vulcanizer, can they adopt a POS? What kind of businesses are POSs made for?
So that's a great question. And the short version of the answer is every single business, not just can use a POS, but as a matter of fact, should be using one. At Kipper, we have over 500,000 businesses we work with. And this, the range is from petty traders, street corner shops, to more sophisticated supermarkets and businesses of that sort. And especially in the past 3 months, we've seen very significant demand from businesses like that, because what they've realized is traditionally they are laggards when it comes to the adoption of digital technology, and they pay dearly for that. So what we've seen is a lot of small businesses now want to start to run like the big boys. And if you're going to run like the big boys and attract customers who are well off, then most customers want to pay with their cards. And as a small business, if 5 customers come into your store and 50% of them aren't able to pay with their cards because you do not have a POS terminal, that just means you've lost 50% of the money you potentially could make. When you scale that over time, it then contributes to one of the reasons why your business fizzles out after a while. So we've seen memes of sugarcane sellers, puff hawkers, all with POS terminals trying to take payment from customers, because businesses that refuse to adopt technology like the POS terminals aren't going to last for very long, right? When we think back 50 years ago, it wasn't really a foregone conclusion that you can run your business without electricity. But now it is impossible to not run your business without electricity. And that's what technology is doing for small businesses now. And the smart ones are getting on board the trend.
So if I got you correctly, anybody, any business, whether you're selling chin-chin or you're selling bread.
Yes.
I mean, sugarcane, you even mentioned that. For the lovers of sugarcane, you can actually use the POS.
Absolutely.
Okay. If you're listening right now, I hope you're actually internalizing this for your business or for that business around you that is always asking for cash. Next time you see them, tell them you can actually use a POS. But naturally, the question I will follow, and I'm going to ask her now, is how about the charges? Because businesses think POS is for big business, big man business, because the charges are quite, hefty. So really, let's be honest, does it make business sense to get that POS? Yes, I'm selling sugarcane. I probably make 5,000 naira daily. If I get POS, would I have profit?
Thanks for that, Friday. Yeah, you're absolutely right. For every benefit to there's actually a cost to it. The charges are quite affordable, actually, to a degree. It's about 0.5% capped at 1,000 naira, 0.5 capped at 1,000 naira. So if you're making the payment for, let's say, maybe you're purchasing something very, very small, you get charged that. So imagine you're paying, let's say, 200K, for instance, you get charged 1,000 naira cap. If you're maybe buying, let's say a customer comes to your store as a merchant, and they are maybe buying an iPhone, for instance, or a TV or something, and that's perhaps costing about 500K, for instance, right? Ideally, you should be charged about, let's say, if you multiply, that's about 2,500 naira thereabouts. If you multiply 0.5 times 500K, that's 2.5, So, however, owing to the fact, like you said, cost is very, very essential when it comes to financial services. So that's been capped to 1,000 naira. So I could probably say yes. If you look at the cost and the benefits, I would say that's quite affordable. Also, for the sugarcane sellers that Kennedy mentioned earlier, the mom and pop stores and the likes, there's actually an alternative to that, although that's not within this conversation right now. It's called NQL. That's a quick response code, whereby you can actually have the deck out in front of your store, or even if you're in a market, for instance. Even beggars in China even use that. They have the deck out in front of them, a QR code to scan and pay. Those charges are as low as 50 kobo or up to like 25 naira thereabouts. So it really depends. If you're really concerned about the cost, then you can go for a QR code. Or if you're also concerned about that, you can then go for a POS terminal. Like I said, looking at the cost and the benefits, then I could probably say yes, the cost isn't that much compared to the benefits of getting a POS terminal. Also, the risk of also holding cash is quite, imagine if after your whole sales and you get robbed, what will you say basically, yeah? So there was a news recently about, I don't want to go into bad news, but about someone that got killed or the fight got moving 10 million naira cash from a bank. So basically it's actually much more better to actually use a POS terminal, no matter how small your business is, just get that terminal and receive funds through that. Thank you.
Thank you, Oscar. We need to go on a break right now, but just to do a quick recap, you've heard all of these ideas, information coming through. And the beauty is the fact that all of these financial service providers have, help desks. They welcome you to approach them, whatever business you're doing. Walk up to their offices, get the right kind of advice you need for your business. It is tailor-made for your business, so you know which works for you. Oh, by the way, the NQR code will be walking you through in a matter of days. So just hold on for that as well. We're due for a break, gentlemen. When we come back, we'll wind down on the POS conversation. Talk about the USSD. Again, I need to know what USSD means, not US dollars, right? And then we'll take the questions and the calls. Adiabe, we'll come back to you and then do our round robin. That's in a moment. You're still listening to the Financial Literacy and Public Enlightenment radio show brought to you by the Bankers Committee. I'll be back in a few seconds.
Whether that cash or transfer, money na money. Person don't collect transaction, it's case closed.
Something playing. It's really things that will be playing. One play like song playing. On that.
See, and we Google. Are you sure it's not the other guy? Yeah. And next week we'll show you better.
Whether you want pay or you collect.
I'm looking for the thing that is playing like music.
Cash no dey available. Use mobile app, internet banking, ATM, POS, USSD, QR code, e-Naira, and others. Them take do your transaction. And if you don't get bank account, visit your bank. Make them open them for you. Make you no panic. Oh, last, all of us go there all right. This message now from Bankers Committee.
All right, you're welcome back to the show that helps you make the very best financial decisions. This is the Financial Literacy and Public Enlightenment radio show brought to you by the good people at the Bankers Committee. Today we're discussing POS, the USSD, alternative payment options. So you are not just stuck on cash, okay? So when you want to buy it at your favorite meal or you want to pay for that service and there is no cash, as they say, there's no shingbai in your wallet, you can always revert to these alternative payment options so that you're not stuck and life goes on as it ought to. I have fantastic gentlemen with me. They are brilliant. They've spent years and years in the financial sector and they're pouring into us from their experience, answering the questions we have about using these alternative payment options, particularly the POS, which means point of sale. Yeah, I know it now, right? And then the USSD, which we'll find out what that means in a couple of minutes. Gentlemen, thank you for staying with us. Just to say that you can call us or send in your message through these lines, 0810-608-1681 or 0818-202-5883. All right, the phone lines are open, by the way. Your messages can come in as well. So feel free to ask whatever question you have about the POS or the USSD. All right, we're here for you. Hideme, let me come to you right now. All of us talk about, the POS has got me thinking about experiences I have heard about people saying, hey, so I'll take my ATM, I'll give some random person, they'll slot it into that device and then do whatever it wants to do. They'll capture my number, my CVV, my name, and then wipe out all the money in my account. How can you ensure that, while you're exploring this alternative payment option, you're safe, your cash is secure, and we do not eat that proverbial breakfast?
Yes, thank you for that question. So it's very important that our listeners understand that every single transaction done on the POS is encrypted end to end, right? At the point when you're putting in your PIN, and by the way, you don't need your CVV to do a transaction on a POS transaction. You only need your transaction PIN. However, when you do enter your transaction PIN, every single thing is encrypted end to end. Even the bank that owns that terminal cannot even see your PIN. That's on the one side, right? But security is twofold. The user himself, the customer himself, has to also be very conscious of the fact that he is entering very, very sensitive, security details. Card on the terminal, right? That's on the one side. But you see, people also need to also understand that you don't need to use a card alone on the POS today. The space has innovated so much that as I speak to you, you do not need a card to consummate a transaction on the POS. You can use the option to pay with transfer, for example. You are a user, you don't have your card on hand, but you have money in your bank account. You can transfer the receipt for that transaction. All right. So you don't necessarily have to use your card for every single POS transaction. You can use
thank you very much.
Transfer option. You can even go as well. Yeah.
Sorry, we lost you for a moment there, but I see you made the point. Thank you very much. So security is twofold, right? You also have to be vigilant yourself, but I'm glad you've given a lot of people rest of mind that these transactions are encrypted end to end. You said,
yes, end to end.
Okay, reminds me of one of these social messaging devices and tell you it's end-to-end encryption. Okay, let's forge ahead. The calls are coming in. We're going to be taking your calls, so please call us on 0810-608-1681 or 0818-202-5883. So let's talk about USSD, right? All right. So let me come back to you, Olatunde. You always want bailing us out with these, the meanings and all of that. USSD, I've said that a lot. I've used it even more than I have said it. And I have to be honest with you, like a lot of Nigerians, I do not know what the USSD means. So tell us what it means and also what you can use it for.
Okay. USSD for short is unstructured supplementary service data.
Exactly. That's why I don't know it.
Unstructured supplementary service data.
Right.
In the layman's parlance, it is that code we press on our phone that starts with an asterisk and ends the hash. So for instance, if I'm a GTV customer, I dial *737 hash. If I'm an EcoBank customer, I dial *326 hash. If I'm FCMB, I dial *329. If I'm UBA, I dial *919 hash. So it's that short string. It works as a string, and then everybody can use it. That's the beauty of the unstructured supplementary service data, the USSD. The young, the old, the youth, the child can use it. And then again, what can it be used for? Just like the POS, you can use it for micro-lending services, meaning that for people, customers that have been classified by financial institutions to access some micro-lending, they could use the USSD, just dial some code. Say, for instance, now I'm a salary earner. I want some short funds before my salary comes in. I can just dial that code via my bank app and boom, because I've been pre-qualified, because my salary sits with that bank, I can get micro lending. Also, it's
Sorry,
okay.
Paul. So it's not just a borrow time, I can borrow money. Oh,
yes,
gets better.
Yes.
Go on, please.
And then, of course, you can also open a bank account, a wallet through the USSD.
Really?
Yes. So you don't necessarily have to walk into the bank, just like Mayowa said. Banking has gone beyond the brick and mortar. So right in the comfort of your home, you can dial a short code, and then you'll have access to quick financial services. Then, of course, you could use it for bill payments. You could use it for inquiries as well. So, for instance, some people are saying, oh, I want to check my balance, You could do that via the unstructured supplementary service data. So it has a whole lot of, it encompasses a whole lot of suites of things that you can do financially.
Wow. So if the POS in my area is not working, I can actually use USSD for those transactions.
Yes.
It doesn't need internet.
No, it doesn't. You don't need an internet to use
like I use my Palasa.
Yes, your feature
This is one
phone
more Palasa
or
beats.
the Android, it works.
Palasa devices that you don't need internet to use. They drop and they keep working. Now, like some of our devices, once it drops, you're in trouble. You have to fix your screen. But a Palasa, it sometimes outlives you. All right, let me come to Lumayowa on this one. So that is for the user or the consumer, the owner of the phone. But for business owners, can I also adopt USSD to receive payments, do business, and make receiving payments easier?
Absolutely correct. You can because as I said, businesses also have evolved over time in Nigeria. Imagine I'm putting my business in a remote location, and I tailor my business towards a database business. That means it's either I should team myself or I probably disallow some customers to come to me and do business. So what you see in that kind of scenario is where a business would ride on a USSD code of a bank, and then users of that bank just dial a long short string, and then they'll debit themselves and they'll credit the merchant, right? And of course, NIBS also have what we call today, which of course NIBS is the more like the champion or the middleman and interconnected of banks today. You have what we call them cash, whereby you don't use it.
NIBS is, I know that it means interbank settlement something.
Nigerian interbank settlement system.
Hey.
It's owned by all Nigerian banks.
Give me a 70%. I mean, please go ahead.
So they have what we call M-Cash today, whereby irrespective of where your bank, where your account is, just that short code, you get debited and you credit the business owner, which is called the merchant in business. So, of course, you just have to, as a business owner, you need to develop your business to be able to collect from any channel, that be mobile, USSD, or internet banking, or wherever. So USSD, of course, can be adopted for payments for any business. Beautiful.
I just want to quickly ask this question. We've said that it is available for businesses. We've asked that they get advice, but just how easy is it to, procure or get on board as a business, either POS or USSD? And let me take this to Kennedy, just to speak to that, because we have now, we've whet people's appetite and they naturally want to maybe start with this as early as tomorrow. So just how easy is it to get on board either the POS or the USSD to receive payments, that is? Do I have to submit an arm and leg as a business owner?
No, you don't. And for most companies, they've made it easy for you to get a POS. The of Kepa, a company that works with quite a ton of businesses, and getting a POS terminal is just as simple as logging onto our website or sending an email to our customer support channels. And we have a distributed nationwide network of managers who in 24 hours can get you a terminal. So it's a very easy, simple, and straightforward process if you're a business thinking about getting a terminal.
So you heard that. It is easy for you if you're doing business and you won't have a lot of options. Think about it. If you have a lot of options, that means you can actually service more customers. You can make more profit, I don't want to say spend money as you ought to, but the point is you'll do better for yourself and for Nigeria's economy. So, this information is very, very good, and it's coming, during this period, Easter. So, hey, perfect timing. But call us, send us a message. I've seen the calls. Forgive me. I am now ready to take your calls. I just wanted to get that point out. So call us right now. Send us a message. Ask your question. Have you had difficulty trying to get on board some of these services? Do you have any particular question? The number to do that through is 0810 608 1681 or 0818 202 5883. These gentlemen are ready to take on your questions. All right. So call in right away. I'll be getting you the answers you need. You're still listening to the Financial Literacy and Public Enlightenment Radio Show, brought to you by the Bankers Committee. We're discussing the POS and the USSD alternative payment options this beautiful Easter Monday evening. We have about 10, 12 minutes to go. So I really want to take those calls and questions. And let me just follow up with this one. Okay. It's a question. By the way, you should tell us your name. and your location as you send in the messages or when you call as well. And this question is from, well, you didn't put your name, but I'm going to read your question nonetheless. And the question is, what are the comprehensive risks that internet or digital banking partners shall be careful of to minimize losses? I hope I got that word right. It seems like you wrote, patronizers. Okay, forgive me. So it says, what are the comprehensive risks that internet or digital banking patronizers shall be careful of to minimize losses? I think that Oscar, you spoke to that earlier. Am I correct? Was it Oscar or Ehijame?
Yeah, that was me. I was pointing out that even though I said the bank or the digital partners have already taken steps to protect every single transaction that's done on these platforms, it's also very important that the customers it's important that they play their part, right? You have the responsibility to guard very well access to your funds, right? But notwithstanding, the banks and the financial stakeholders have taken steps to protect every single transaction that is done on all of our platforms.
Okay, so just to reiterate, that's the answer to your question, I believe. So thank you very much, EGMA. Let me go to Oscar now and just quickly speak to this. Again, what is the cost for using the USSD, either as a business person or as a consumer myself? So I want to jump on the USSD, I want to use it. Does it cost me? I know I've used it a lot. Maybe I don't check my alerts, so I don't quite notice, but what is the cost really?
All right, thank you very much, Heidi. So yeah, there's actually a session cost per transaction you do on USSD platform. It's a 6.98 naira. That's flat. That's actually a flat fee to access USSD services. Yeah, there's a cost to that, and also in the acquiring side, as to receive funds, it really depends on the partner that's you integrated with to receive such a payment before for the company themselves. Cost just 6.98 naira only. That's pretty small, I believe.
Okay, you're a big man now, so it's okay. So let's talk about challenges. Yes, these platforms, beautiful, brilliant. It's always good to have choices. All right, we've talked about internet banking, we've talked about the ATM, now POS and the USSD. So lots of options to choose from. But hey, we've heard stories, particularly people who've been burned using these services. I mean, I still got experiences up until yesterday, and it reminds me of this example that was given. And let me ask Olatunde this one. There was this video that was circulating about people getting fake alerts. You know, they say that someone comes to their store, they'll do a USSD transfer, and they get the alert or something like that, and eventually it turns out to be fake. What exactly is going on in that area? I don't know. Has it been demystified? Is it true? How can I don't want to be at the receiving end of that. So can you speak to that, please? Thank God I remembered.
Okay. What could have happened in that? Okay, you want to add something?
Okay, please go on. A call was coming in, but we'll take that. Just land on that.
Okay. What could have happened in that space is that as the banking world has evolved, so some fraudsters, they've evolved in the things they do. So it's just like sometimes you sit down in the corner of your home and then somebody starts calling you to say, I'm from XYZ bank, I need your details, I need this, I need that. So this is just the handiwork of fraudsters who have capitalized on some ignorance in a way to ensure that they use this as a means of, in quotes, scamming people of their hand-earned money. So it is possible.
Okay, just pardon me to pause you there. We have a caller in, and we lost that caller. Please, you can land on the point now. Please, when you call us, don't forget to turn down the volume of your radio set. I mean, this can't be said enough. Okay, let's take this one. Good evening. Hi, good evening. What's your name? Where are you calling from? Hi, Solomon. Please.
I like this program. Very, very comprehensive. The question I want to ask is, why is it difficult when you are in stage and the payment is not made? You go to your bank to rectify it. It takes almost 4 or 5 days, sometimes 1 week. The other capital, if at all. People have to go and go and go. So why is this like this? Because the system is very good. But the medication or the water is the bank. This is something that you're supposed to have. When it happens before the bank, but that you can why is it like that? Because it's affecting something.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Where are you calling from, Solomon? Oh, yes, absolutely. I just want to know where you're calling from. Abia State. Okay, thank you so much, Solomon. We're going to get answers to your question. Very important question Solomon from Abia State raised, and I imagine he's speaking for a lot of Nigerians. So, Olumayowa, do you want to take this on? Why does it seem to take so long? Yes, we've heard the good sides of the stories, but let's speak to Solomon's case. He wasn't specific about the bank, but generally speaking, what goes on behind the scenes?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. So one thing the CBN has done is to ensure that consumers are protected in all others. And that's why when the Naira design policy came out, they also released a policy to ensure that, because as transactions happen, of course, there are failures. But CBN has mandated all banks to implement what we call auto reversal for failed transactions. Of course, because they know that transactions would fail. But it is expected that banks will develop something internally to automatically reverse a failed transaction. But of course, these Nigerian systems do feel that the auto reversal itself does not take place. It's expected that maybe, of course, consumers now make a call to their banks to say, oh, I did transaction and all that. And there are sanctions grids to this. CBN has said it within this, there are sanction grids to all the failure points. So it's expected that if a bank fails to respond to your complaint within a specific number of the bank can be sanctioned. And even as a consumer, you need to know this. You have the right to report your bank to see within a specific data log the complaint or a failed transaction, I didn't get a response. So there are policies in place to guide the banks. First, auto reversal should happen, whether it's on a POS or your mobile or whatever. It should happen. But of course, if it fails to happen, and then you walk up to your bank or make a call to your customer care and let your complaint, there is a window that you're supposed to get a response. Outside which, if you don't get a response, you can either log a complaint to even the CBN and then the bank will be sanctioned.
I need to tell you this. I've actually seen this happen a lot. People actually escalating it to the CBN and they got redress. So, Solomon, if that's the case, I mean, you didn't mention what bank it is specifically. So, go ahead. If you've exhausted that window, you know what to do right now. All right, escalate it, and this, I believe, will be sorted out. Thank you so much, Solomon, from Abia State. If you're like Solomon, or if you have any other issue you'd like to raise with our experts here, the beauty about this show is that you get the information you need, no holds barred. Nobody is hiding anything. And I mean, kudos to the bankers committee for coming up with this idea where Nigerians can speak to the financial service providers, bear their minds, and get the answers they want. So call us 0810-608-1681 or 0818-202-5883. There's this message that came in earlier on from Opelua. Opelua is messaging from Isolo. And the question from Opelua is this: how ready are commercial banks in Nigeria for a cashless policy? It says, during the recent cash crunch, online transactions were extremely slow, banks' networks were terrible, and there were lots of transaction issues with this alternative banking. Opelua says, if we fully implement a cashless policy, what structures are in place to ensure a seamless online process? Kennedy, I'm coming to you on this one.
Sorry, can you go back the
Okay, the question from Okwelua is just how ready are commercial banks? And I'll just expand this and say, financial service providers who are playing in that sector, how ready are they for this cashless policy? I think that's a question that has come up time and again. So maybe you can give us behind the scenes, just what capacity is available to prosecute this?
Yeah, I'm sure quite a lot of Nigerians, both consumers and businesses, experience significant downtimes with especially electronic banking between January and March, and a lot of that still persists into the new quarter. But to be very frank with you, in a lot of quarters, it's the case of building this plane as we fly, right? A lot of commercial banks, microfinance banks, financial services companies, period, have had their systems inundated, with transaction volumes that they, before now, haven't had the capacity to deal with. So people are upgrading their servers, buying up more space in the cloud, creating more room where they use, physical server structures. But I am very confident that with the sort of results we've seen in the past 3 months, there's nothing that the financial services industry we have today cannot handle. And banks, institutions are building up their technical ability to continue to maintain the demand that we're seeing. So I think, yes, we're ready. We have an incredible regulatory authority that is also ready, very supportive and providing infrastructure for financial service institutions to thrive. And yeah, we're trying to build our economy from scratch, right? All of us are building made in Nigeria products. And we just continue to need the empathy of the users, continued feedback from them, for this to be for this to not just be a one-time in history problem that we experience, but for it to be a permanent, long-term, solution to a lot of the financial exclusion problems that we continue to witness in our country.
And I think that's a great place to anchor. I mean, if you're just joining us, 3 things you need to know. 1, there are lots of alternatives for you if you want to, pay or do business in Nigeria. We just talked about the POS and the USSD. We talked about the internet banking and ATM last week. So, I mean, there are different options for you aside cash. 2 is that when there are challenges, there is a regulator that tries to ensure that things are done right. So if you escalate to your bank, looks like things are slowing down, you can even escalate beyond your bank. So rest assured that using these alternative options, things are expected to go smoothly. So, hey, embrace the POS and the USSD and learn what it means as well. I know what it means, all right? Gentlemen, we have to anchor at this point. It's been an interesting conversation. And I'd like to thank you so much, Ejime Okoje, Head ATM and Virtual Business Commercial Digital Banking Group at Polaris Bank, Kennedy Ekeze, MD CEO Keeper, Oscar Mwoma was the Head Products and Partnerships Globus Bank, right here in the studio, Lumayowa Amole, the Team Lead Payment and Collections Premium Trust Bank, and Olatunde Olukoya, Product Manager Web Acquiring EcoBank. Gentlemen, it's been an honor sharing from your wealth of knowledge. Thank you so much. That's where we anchor today. We're back next week with more financial talk and more experts. On behalf of the production team, the Zonal Director FRC and Lagos Operations, Bolanle Oyemi, the Assistant Director of Programs, Maria Ohoma. Then we have Ibrahim Muchaba, Oluyemisi Olumuyiwa, behind the scenes, touching all the buttons, ensuring things go well. Daniel Kuye, Idowu Isebio, and Shewa Folabi. Thank you so much. We're back next week, as I said. Until then, I am Kayode Okikilu. Keep making profit,